Hello everyone, Dr. Suneel Dhand, internal medicine physician. Welcome to another video. Within the last couple of days, we've had some interesting news regarding some opposition to the proposed pandemic treaty, the World Health Organization Pandemic Treaty. Now, I know a lot of you have been following this very worrying news, at least it should be worrying to a lot of people, and many other channels have talked about it, including my friend, the excellent Dr. John Campbell. But in a nutshell, next year, there is a treaty from the World Health Organization that is wanting people who sign the treaty to all respond the same way to future pandemics. And remember, it's a question of when, not if, future pandemics occur. And the World Health Organization, which seems to think that it is the sole source of truth, wants to dictate how individual sovereign nations should respond. I do not buy that this is all about cooperation. I think this is more about control. And as for the World Health Organization, well, needless to say, anyone who's actually had their eyes open for the last few years should be alarmed that they would want to control anything, with all the questions about the many wrong things that they've done before, their conflicts of interests, and also who is funding them. No pun intended. Who is funding the World Health Organization? Anyway, let me share with you a source of opposition, an unlikely source of opposition to this treaty. This story over the last couple of days. So this was published in Politico. Pharma sees a threat in pandemic treaty. A draft international treaty spelling out how nations must cooperate during pandemics would require signatories to temporarily suspend intellectual property rights for needed drugs. That's not going over well with drug makers. Well, of course it's not. If they lose their intellectual property rights, that's not a surprise. These companies want to make as much money as possible. The draft means any country signing will have to commit to temporarily waive intellectual property rights, encourage patent holders to waive or reduce for a limited time the payment of royalties by developing countries, require manufacturers that have received public financing to waive or reduce royalties, encourage patent holders to share with third-party manufacturers information critical to the making of patented products. Well, that really does look like a nightmare on Elm Street list for pharmaceutical companies. I personally would have liked to have also seen the liability waiver lifted, but that list would be enough to make any pharmaceutical company's CEO jump off their seat. The United States has lobbied to make the sharing of intellectual property voluntary, and it's not clear whether the current language will pass muster. There was also strong pushback from other high-income countries during the negotiations at the World Health Organization. On Monday, the German health minister told the WHO summit that the intellectual property rights would not fly for Germany and many other European countries. Well, Germany, like a lot of other European countries, including the United Kingdom, does have a very strong pharmaceutical sector. And what did pharma have to say about this? The Director General of the International Federation of Pharmaceutical Manufacturers and Associations, that sounds like a fun organization, they said the draft was unacceptable. So what's next? The World Health Organization hopes to wrap up the treaty in May. Well, what a development that is for those of us who have been following this story closely. It has not concerned people, a concerned citizenry. It is not the government leaders who care about sovereignty, about countries being free to make their own decisions that block this treaty potentially, but pharmaceutical companies, or at least changing this part of the treaty. Oh, the irony if it's big pharmaceutical companies that end up putting a block on this treaty. Let's see what happens in the end. Maybe it will go through modified in some way, but I don't doubt that pharmaceutical companies will get exactly what they want because they own many countries, including the United States. The American people deserve so much better, but pharmaceutical companies spend hundreds of millions of dollars lobbying every year. They send checks to many congressmen and senators. Over 2/3 of them are accepting money from pharmaceutical companies. So what pharmaceutical companies want ends up happening in the end. It is not the will of the people or doing what's right. It's not the true health and well-being of the country that this is all about. This is about power, control, and the mighty dollar. Pharmaceutical companies have too much on the line. It's estimated that they've made over $100 billion in profits during the pandemic. Do you think any pharmaceutical company executive wakes up in the morning wishing the pandemic never happened? Do you really think that that's the case? And at one stage, I remember in 2021, when the jab programs were in full swing, many of them mandated, pharmaceutical companies were making over $1,000 in profit per second. There is a lot of money on the line here, and we all know the rules. Follow the money. If you want to know the way the world works, why decisions happen, simply follow the money. Most Western governments are at it in one way or another to different degrees. It depends how open it is and how much people want to actually research what is going on and have their eyes open. Let's see what happens now with this pandemic treaty. It's due to be ratified in the spring of next year, I think in April or May. Let's see if the pharmaceutical companies put a stop to it. Thanks everyone for listening. Let me know your thoughts down below. Check out my online academy. That link is also down below. Hit the like button if you like this video and the bell button for more similar videos in the future. Remember, huge swathes of healthcare and medicine are completely and utterly corrupt. And the best thing you can do for your health and your family's health is make the right decisions every day. Be awake, ask the right questions, and realize that many authorities around you do not have your well-being or your family's well-being at heart. Stay awake and make those right decisions. Take care, everyone. We will speak again very soon.